Good afternoon. How are we today on this fine day here in central Scotland?
Oh, all right. We're okay. The wife's out at the moment working, and Katie's just come in, so I've just got her stuff ready, and did my usual thing of my servant, put on my servant's voice. Your tea is ready, provided.
Here we are. Here we are on the 8th of June. We've got one viewer.
Yeah. We're away on holiday. That's what it is.
There's a fair few away on holiday, that's for sure.
Oh, bloody hell! All of a sudden, bang! In they come. What's going on there? Is it your blooming bandwidth, David? Hi, Rebecca. Hi, John. Hello, Terry. Lorna. Blooming heck, and I've got jumps right down. Chris Wilson, Last Braveheart, Hugh Smith, Martin Boyd, Mr. E. I always think of a horse that talks when Mr. E comes on, but that was Mr. something. What was that called?
It was Mr. Oh, aye. Right, on Facebook we've Thomas MacArthur, Ian Henry, Tommy Allison. Hi Tommy, how's things? We've got Paul Foon, Liz Shields, Ewan Guthrie, and Elizabeth Camper Brown. Afternoon, Elizabeth. How's things in Duisburg? We've got Alistair Kerr, Gillian Albison. Good afternoon, Gillian. Afternoon, Nancy, Irene, Pete, Irene again, Ruth. Now listen folks, before we get any further, all this carry on with the bank accounts now be sorted out. So in the introduction to this on YouTube and hopefully on Facebook, there should be a sort code and a bank account number that if you wish to donate to your fundraiser for Food Bank, then you can do it that way. Okay, so it should be there, and that way YouTube and Google are not taking a slice, you know. But we won't leave the super chats open for anybody who wants to make a comment, because when the super chat comment comes up, I'll read it out, and we'll thank you for the donation through that method. Okay.
The good thing about having the bank account there is because if we want to, we can literally take a snapshot of the bank account and just show you. And go there. Yeah, that's what we've got, and that's
and what it also gives us an electronic record of where we send the donations to.
That's right.
Because at this point in time we're on a cash or we're making electronic donations via our own accounts.
Ginger Giraffe's on. He says good morning.
She says good morning.
She says good morning.
Right, anyway, the numbers are quite nicely. We're almost at just about 100. So let's get this show on the way. The two Davies, the 8th, the 6th, 2023. Right, and the first topic we're going to talk about is the Scottish Government's response and the former First Minister's response to the UK-wide COVID inquiries. We know there's a station going on down that road where the UK government's actually taking its aid, a COVID inquiry in court to try and prevent them getting with the information the COVID inquiries asked for. Now, the COVID inquiry, as we've already spoken about, is asked for Nicola Sturgeon and Scottish Ministers' WhatsApp messages to deal with COVID. Now, the response they've had from the Scottish Government's lawyers and from the former First Minister is that they didn't use WhatsApp, they used official channels. So there's nothing in WhatsApp to be seen. Now, Amir Anwar, who is representing the families, the bereaved families here in Scotland in this COVID inquiry down that road, he wants WhatsApp, a personal WhatsApp, and that turned over to the judge, so that it can be tested to see if they're of relevance or not.
Right.
According to the former First Minister Nicola Sturgeon, they didn't use WhatsApp, they used official government channels for communications to deal with the pandemic, which is how it should be done.
Very, very simple. Hand over your phones, give them the codes to get in, go have a look, and if they're telling porkies, as in they have been dealing with COVID on WhatsApp, then it'll come out. Simple as that. But I take people like Nicola Sturgeon at her word. If she says there wasn't any, we used official channels and all the rest of it, take her at her word. But by all means, Amir Anwar is quite right to ask for that.
Yep. H says his or her local food bank has had to cut back on what they could give out today as they're really struggling. It's going to happen, folks. The state is relied on food banks as a form of a benefit as part of the welfare state. But as the cost of living crunch continues, people get less and less to give. But if you can't have a couple
Who
of
was that from? Who was that from?
that was from H. Now,
Right.
if you drop us a wee message one way or another, let us know your local food bank as we can have a consideration, see what we can do to help. But as I say, folks, we know times are tough. Only donate if you can. Now you've got two ways to donate. You can go via super chat here in the live feed, or you can go via the details that I've put up and the subtitle to the show. Okay, right now let's move on. So basically, Scottish Government saying they don't have WhatsApp to deal with COVID. It was all done through official channels. All right. Second one is not going to take as long to cover. Ian Blackford has announced that he's standing down at the next election, and he's got plans to go and do things outside frontline politics. What do you make here?
It's just, as far as I can see, it's a gentleman that's done well for us. He's worked hard for the SNP, but he's got to the point where he goes, I don't need to do this. And it's a bit like Nicola Sturgeon. Look, the next bit's going to be really hard. So the next bit's going to be very, very hard. And I think we'll see a few more announcements like this going through on the longer running members that have been in the SNP.
Aye.
So we have another similar thing further down. That's on the very, very next one, which is the Transport Minister for the SNP. He stood down on mental health issues. That's Kevin Stewart. So really, I think we could bracket both of them together.
The old guard's moving on.
Yeah.
The old guard's moving on. They've done their time. They've served the country well. Keith Stewart's been a minister for 8 years. Apparently, his constituency work and his ministerial work in the last 8 years, which is stockpiled and tally him. Last autumn and winter, he was suffering really badly, apparently, and he doesn't feel that he can continue to perform base roles. So the right thing for him to do is to serve his constituents, and that's why he's stepping away from the ministerial post. And he's got back to
I can imagine the pressure that these people are under on a day-by-day basis, right? And it's maybe better for the young ones. If you can consider Holmes a young one, like Mr. Flynn is a young one, Mary Black is a young one. I mean, these are the people that are going to drive the party forward, and if possible, get us our independence.
Right, H, I've got to be your area is, mate. Thank you very much. It's all in canvas language that we can do somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
Right now, so looks like a couple of the old guys are stepping away, and we've had the change of regime, so that's generally normal. We'll find that as we go forward that there's certain people who will say enough.
All goes into the unionist mix, doesn't it? Oh, look at that! It's stop breaking up. Well, no, we're not. I'm quite happy of what's happening.
Aye, no, it's just the cycle. It happens every 10, 15 years as leadership changes in parties and things like that, Right, so let's move on to the Scottish Government bottles it on the DRS.
Yeah, that is. Excuse me for saying, but why? The response should have been, we're doing it anyway. Oh, are these yours?
As I say, as far as I'm concerned, it should have been get it up you. But I mean, there's some interesting information coming to light over the last couple of days and on the Tories blocking this, and it has to do with transparency. Now, apparently, some in the industry that didn't want to have to deal with cross-border differences. Bunged the Tory party 20 grand.
Aye, that's right.
You know?
You know, I have to say, see the moment that goes on, you think to yourself, well, they're not representing anybody, are they? They're just doing it because of the money. Something like that.
I could have went into the latest figures on a political party donations over the last 3 months because they've just been released, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is just, I'm sorry. We need politicians that are going to see this far and no further at this point in time as our devolved settlement is under attack.
Absolutely.
And we'll get a wee bit more of that a wee bit later on the show.
Yeah.
But the truth be, folks, and we're not going to dress this up, Lorna Slater, whom they used to bottled it, they should have just stuck their fingers up to them and said, this law has been passed, it's had royal assent, it's an industry-led initiative that we have here. We're all being lied to and tell it's a Scottish Government initiative. It's no, the Scottish Government said, passed a law to get this into place, and then turned around to the industry, the drinks industry in Scotland, and the other industries in Scotland that use the sort of packaging that would be affected, and tell them you design the scheme.
Yeah.
And you liaise with Circularity Scotland, the arms distance company, and it was set up to do this. Now, basically, what we've got here is the UK government stamping for no reason whatsoever or devolution because England's not ready. And they're doing the same in Wales because England's not ready.
No, but what they want to do is they want to basically disband the SNP. That is their target, right? And we have got to have people that have got the gumption to blooming take the UK government to task over it. Just by saying it.
You just have to tell them straight, Jack, back off. We're going to do it anyway, so if you want to take us to court, we'll tell the court where to go.
Yeah, correct.
And that's the attitude that's going to start being taken by our ministers and our First Minister.
Yeah. When you find, well, that there had to be disobedience, there has to be disobedience. You ain't getting out of this blooming union without Scotland taking a disobedient line. Simple as that. Anyway, I'm just annoyed. I'm annoyed with it. I really, really am.
Anyway, I can talk to them of 80 of these companies in the industry are now looking at suing the Scottish Government, which would diminish Scottish public services further. And it's a direct sabotage from Westminster, and they will look at that money that's going to have to be paid to the Scottish Government. They will not compensate the Scottish Government for their interference. And then they'll turn around and tell us the Scottish Parliament isn't viable because you can't afford it. Your ministers are crap with money, even though they're the ones that are costing us. So who's this just to say, get it up, ye, we're going to court and we'll let the courts decide. And then when the court did decide, say, get it up, ye, anyway, the scheme's up and running. Yeah. Because that's how long it would take you to get it through court.
Yeah. Well, what we need is we need that situation where it's a pull and we're actually saying to them, no way. We are a sovereign parliament able to make decisions for the people of Scotland, or we're not. One of the two.
And this is a totally devolved area. These are the places where you take a stand.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on. SNP convention. Hold on, I went too far. Number 5 is recall petition in Hamilton and Rutherglen to go live on the 20th of June after Commons votes to uphold Margaret Ferrier's 30-day ban for travelling while carrying COVID.
I've got no problem with that, providing it applies right across the board fairly, as in Bojo, Boris Johnson, and Sunak. You know, right. For what they did during the COVID thing. Oh, sorry, I've said the word. During the pandemic. So long as
listen, if that's the punishment for Ferrier, then all the rest of them that broke the rules should all be given more than 10 days of suspension.
Okay.
And they should all be subject to recall petitions.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about this one is we're not sure that they'll get the 10,800 votes they need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, 8,400 votes they need. Let's get it right. There's 84,000 constituents in Hamilton West and Rutherglen.
Yeah.
So it's a matter. It's a matter whether Labour and the SNP can get enough signatures on the petition to oust them. This election, the public might not bother.
I can imagine that Labour activists are blooming burning out shoes doing the streets.
Actually, that's not what's going to happen, but because they've got a Stussy with Starmer going on right now.
Yeah.
Well, the candidate.
Yeah.
The CLP have decided one person in Starmer said, no, you're having this one. As he's been doing right across the UK.
Yeah.
Right, anyway, so will they get the 8,400 signatures they need to trigger a by-election? We'll see. It goes live on the 20th, so there'll be chapping doors for the 20th forward. If they're chapping doors before that to get signatures, they shouldn't have could.
Now, if you think we were annoyed with the previous one about DRS being bounced, the next item, which is the Independence Convention, has us both literally burning with anger, because the convention that was supposed to be a meeting of all the SNP members that could get to it to decide what the route is to independence is now not going to consider or vote on the route to independence. What's it about? Is it just another day out for the boys?
No, there's not even a vote on the route to independence at this convention. The convention, now, as you know, David, I was, need to find out about this, dog and bone up, right? Now, what I'm being told for the party is there are 3 or 4 potential routes that they could go down. What they want the convention to do is to give them preferred options. And then in October at the full conference where you'll have more members able to vote, these options will be put before the members at the conference in October for a selection to be made. Now,
I'm not, David. You're not having it either. They could, at this convention, they could actually, I know that, David, look, I know you're in agreement with me on this, right? But what I'm doing is I'm giving my tuppence worth here, is that if they have a convention, all those things could be discussed and agreed on, rather than pulling people into 3 or 4 different conventions on independence. It's not a convention independent until they actually have a vote. So, in other words, it needs discussion now.
That's right. So, anyway, they're talking about viable. The convention will look at viable weevil routes, and then the viable weevil routes will be put in front of the wider party, because remember, the Kirtall will get 30,000 delegates in at most.
To me, this is becoming a bunch of savage amusement, and it's like, I'm not a fool, and I won't be treated as a fool, right? And this is treating me like a fool at the moment. So, see, when this news came out that this independence convention wasn't going to vote on what they're going to do, what the route they're going to do, I just went, what am I doing here? What on earth am I doing here?
To say, I'm only telling you the official party line is. Whether I agree with it or not is a different matter.
I'll be away when this convention goes on, and therefore I've got to rely on you, Dave. And I know fine well you'll go in there and cause a bloody rammy, right?
That's the way you go. Delegates pass, but I need to speak to the convener about that.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous. It really, really is. Honestly, I feel so let down. I feel so angry. Going on from that blooming question time, where that MSP, the lassie, sat next to Alex Salmond, blooming said, no, we're going for the gold standard.
Wednesday night as we enter the next stage of devolution.
Yeah.
Anyway, as I say, you and I are no best chuffed.
No.
But the official party line is there is 2 or 3, 4 legal routes that they could go down. They want to discuss them with the membership there and then put it to the full membership at the October conference.
Right. Guys, you seriously, grab a hold of your MSP or your MP and your MP and get them told. Simple as that.
And the other thing is, folks, during this summer there'll be street stalls everywhere for the SNP. Get up there and tell them to get a move on.
Yeah.
Well, no matter what party you're a member of,
yeah,
they're the only party that's got the ability to take this forward at this point in time.
Correct.
So when you see the street stall out there and you're a pro-independent supporter, cross-party, just get up, tell them to get a fucking move on. Now, I've already made it clear to my MSP to make it clear to Humza. He's playing a game of roulette here with the party.
Aye.
You know, but I'm only giving you the official.
Either the message will slip through and eventually hit them on the back of the head, right? Or they'll lose members hand over fist.
Yes, that was
I'm in the SNP for one thing and one thing only. I'm not in it for free prescriptions or free blooming bridge tolls. I'm in it for independence because they are the party of independence. If they're no longer the party of independence, they've not got me.
William Weech is saying SNP kick it down the road again. Technically, they don't. Because one of the options is next year's election.
Yeah, that's right.
It's only until that option is ruled out that they've kicked it down the road.
Yeah.
But we know that some of those who prefer the slow and steady and a steady evolution into independence, that time's not there anymore.
Yeah.
You know, that time just isn't there. Devolution is under attack, and as each time they undermine devolution, they get to stand up and say, "What's your parliament worth? It's not worth the fucking price of keeping it open."
Yeah.
So there's a fair bit of anger out there in the membership, and I know that for a fact. There's a fair bit of anger out there in the membership, and I'll give the party a warning here. You better get a grip, because you exist for one purpose, and if you keep kicking that one purpose down the road, then the game's a bogey.
So let's get the message through to them. Make sure you set up a big bloody table so people can throw their SNP membership cards on the table and say, not wanted, not needed. You know, that's what it's coming to.
And a mandate went unused for independence last time. Actually, the mandate was to ask Westminster Section 30 order. It's been done 6 times now. In the latest time, Humza Yousaf has asked Sunak for a Section 30 order. He's had no official reply.
And the reason for that, as we know, is
you can't carry it. Let's talk about a mandate in a devolved parliament. You can't carry it out because of the circumstances that we set up under the 1998 Scotland Act.
Yeah.
Under the Supreme Court judgment. That's why we're looking for a different route, because they BAMs are never going to give us any. They're not going to respect democracy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one thing's for sure, this route that's selected is going to have to be bloody well watertight.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on, because I'm still annoyed at that at the moment.
Yeah.
Right, Sunak's in America. Now, before gone, he was told, don't bother asking for a trade deal because you're not getting one. So he's decided to rephrase it and call it, what is he he's looking for now?
He's looking for a closer bond economically between the US and the UK.
But they're about to get that in one of the subjects coming up next. But anyway, so Sunak's there saying to Biden that he wants the UK to take a lead in AI. Nobody's invested in the UK.
Yeah.
Big company, AI company, big technology companies just decided to move to America rather than set up in the UK because of the Competitions Commission. Mental. So I don't know why he's trying to tell Biden that the UK will take a lead on AI. Yeah. No chance. Hey, now the next one's also a quick one, David, because the last couple of subjects are going to be quite weighty, you know, and that's the reason why we're powering through this section of the show. Right, Prime Minister's questions yesterday was the deputy leaders of each party. Now, when it got to the SNP, Mary Black asked about the cost of living crisis. This is where it got pathetic, and I mean really pathetic. In reply to Mary Black's questions about the ongoing cost of living crisis, the answer she got was that she was not patriotic enough because she didn't believe 100 million quid should have been spent on the coronation when people are starving. So there you go, folks. Apparently us Scots are not patriotic enough because we think wasting 100 million quid plus of our money on a billionaire when we'll get 1 in 4 children in Scotland going to bed hungry and 1 in 3 children in England going in hungry.
Yeah, there's a nice wee story that goes alongside that, right? Was the comedian Lee Evans, I forget, right? He stood at Lake Windermere and he's talking about the water company pumping shite into Lake Windermere, of all places. Pumping shite into Lake Windermere. And he says, I can't believe this, right? He said, what they did was, they've set aside 90 million to deal with this problem. He's an awful lot more than 90 million to deal with it, right? But what they did was, they gave their shareholders, this is the water authority that deals with 300 million. And you go, wait a minute, hang on a second, why did they give the shareholders 300 million and just put 90 million aside, right? What needs to happen there is these CEOs of the English water companies need to spend a few weeks in the jail. And that will help focus them into whether they give the money to actually sort the problem out or give the money to their shareholders that are away at another part of the planet. So
it was interesting when they talk about the water companies being in private hands. Have no. Well, they're in public hands. They're just in public hands in different countries for England.
Yeah. A lot of the water authorities, I believe, are is it Canada? That's
Canada, Australia.
Yeah.
Name it. You know, and
anyway, but what Mary Black said about the coronation, disgusting amount of money was spent on that.
But the reply was irrelevant to the question. This is how low they've stooped. Oh, Scots didn't pay much attention to the coronation, so I guess we get away with calling them unpatriotic because they don't agree with us spending 100+ million quid on a billionaire when 1 in 3 children in England are going to bed hungry and 1 in 4 children in Scotland are going to bed hungry.
Yeah.
Absolutely nuts affair.
We're not having a good programme, are we? I mean, this is all, it really is dreadful. You know, it's just, you know.
The system's definitely broke. Anyway, we were talking about the Tories, and we've just spoke about Sunak being over in America. Mm-hmm. The Financial Times tells us that the US is raising its debt limit by $1 trillion. Mm-hmm. It's going to put pressure on the commercial banks because yields go up on the debt they hold, and that puts pressure apparently on deposits.
Yeah.
So they actually move
and also on the value of gilts and everything else like that. Yeah, where you people are being encouraged to buy gilts in the UK. In America, I forget what they're still called gilts in America, right? And you know, all these things are affected by that. effectively quantitative.
Yeah, and but what we see is here, the central banks are actually helping to collapse the commercial banks, because as the central banks have to raise the amount of deposits that's going to be on the books of the commercial banks, we're starting to see commercial banks folding. We know that's going to happen because we have the CBDC on the sidelines waiting to come in.
And I don't know why, but I keep on seeing this date of the 7th of July coming up. A lot of people seem to be going, well, there's something going to happen on the 7th of July. Don't know, guys. Could be wrong. But,
What we do know is that, as we spoke about last time, blockchain as the new querying mechanism has come into play. It's went live. And these things all seem to add up. They all go together. There's definitely an agenda there,
And all the other currencies, the other digital currencies, they'll fold overnight. They'll just go. I mean, Bitcoin just won't exist. Something like that. The moment all these central banks throughout the world go, right, we've got a digital currency, and then your Bitcoin. So you have it here first, guys. If you've got Bitcoin, get it cashed in, enjoy the money, book that world cruise, whatever you're going to do, get it done. All right.
Right. Yeah. Right, so it would appear the move by the Fed to raise the US debt ceiling is going to have effect on, and this isn't just banks in America. This will affect banks right across the board.
Effectively, in America, if they hadn't passed that in the House of Representatives, America would have defaulted on its debt.
Aye.
And that would have been, what that would have caused around the world, that would have rippled right the way around the world. That would have taken down banks everywhere around the world,
But what people go to really understand is that these banks that they think are publicly owned, like the Federal Reserve and the Bank of England and things like that, they're no. They're private banks. Simple as that.
Who's it's got a share in the Bank of England? Who's one of the main shares? We talked about this previously.
We've got the Crown. We think the Rothschilds is one of them, and the other one, the three private shares are still out there. The other one was a guy called Andrew Wright, I think it was. He was a lieutenant for the Rothschilds family. That's where we think the remaining private bits of the Bank of England private hands are held.
And the Federal Reserve, as we know, that is a privately owned bank, and it's got a link in literally with the American government.
It controls America's money. That was the whole point here.
And in terms of people being employed by the Reserve Bank and by the American government, they call it the revolving door.
Right.
And anyway, I won't go into that just now. We'll maybe pick it up in a future programme.
For a wee bit of light-hearted nonsense before we hit the last two heavyweight subjects, right?
Is this Mr. Redfield and Wooten, the new kid on the block?
Aye. The 2020 construct is there to try and underplay the desire for independence in Scotland. We've got a few bad actors like that in the polling company circuit, and it's up to people like Mr. Curtis not to sort these buggers out. But anyway, wait is polls quite funny.
If he's not going to release raw data, he isn't, right? Then the poll's not worth anything. It's the same as YouGov. YouGov used to bring out polls, and they didn't release any raw data, and therefore you just went, oh well, fair enough. I'll look at these other pollsters.
But what's interesting about this latest one, right? Redfield, right? It puts India as low as 43%. Now that comes on the back of an Ipsos Mori poll last week, which put support and independence at 53%. So down to methodology, of course. Now, the other thing that doesn't make sense in Redfield and Wooten's polling data is the SNP have went up, voting intentions for the SNP and their data set has went up from 35% to 37%. Labour down by 4% to 32% and 28%. The Tories are up 2% and 20%. The Lib Dems are solid on 9%. The Greens are on 3%, but as we know, we don't put them up. They don't put up candidates for Westminster, which is a the other independence parties, and I'm not naming any because there is a few, didn't poll. They're in the other section, right?
The thing is, David, what's to stop? I mean, this guy is blooming sitting in a wee room, and when I investigated, did the investigation the other week there to look at what he was doing and who he was and all the rest of it, right? There was nothing to say that he had a team actually doing any polling. Yeah.
There's a new kid on the block who boast in their adverts that they are a world-leading polling company. They're only 2-year-old. There's nothing about 3-year-old. There's nothing world-leading about them. Yeah. Anyway, the last statistic which was interesting in his poll, which totally doesn't make sense when it comes to the first party's poll, right? And that is support for an indie ref next year is at 42%, whereas support against an indie ref next year is at 40%. Now, why would 42% of the population want a referendum if only 43% of them were going to vote yes?
Yeah.
Well, it could well be that the rest are unionists and they think they could win at this point in time. Whereas a contradicted poll pair, an actual reputable polling company the week before, but it's interesting, out of the main polling companies, Savanta Comrades, Ipsos Mori, always seem to have independence in the positive. Yeah. YouGov and Redfield and Wooten seems to always have independence and negative. So it must be down to the methodology and how they weight it. Yeah. Right, now let's move on to subject 11. And that's the United Nations telling the Scottish Government to just... What was the term again, David?
Yeah, it's where are we? Yes, asking the Scottish Government to reintroduce UNCRC expeditiously. So the Scottish Government are in a situation where they've got to rewrite. Can I just tell people what's involved here? Okay. All right. Question. First off, what's the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child? UNCRC. That's simple. UNCRC is a gold standard across the world for children's rights. It covers all aspects of a child's life. The and sets out the civil, political, economic, social and cultural rights that all children everywhere are entitled to. It also explains how adults and governments must work together to make sure all children can enjoy all their rights. On the 1st of September 2020, a bill was introduced to the Scottish Parliament that would incorporate the UNCRC into the law of Scotland. The next section tells you more about the bill and what it means for children and young people in Scotland. However, the UNCRC bill was passed unanimously by the Scottish Parliament on the 16th of March 2021, but it could not be made law because of a legal challenge brought by the UK government law officers. The Supreme Court has now ruled that certain parts of the bill fall out with the competence of the Scottish Parliament. Here we go, guys. Same again. Just, if it's in Scotland, just block it. And that's what we're getting. That's what we're getting from the UK.
This was a very attack on devolution, David, this one.
Yeah. So, what did the Supreme Court decide? Let's have a wee look at that. The judges unanimously decide 4 sections of the bill go beyond the powers of the Scottish Parliament. The decision focused solely on technical matters. So it was a technicality that they knocked this back, right? Or 4 technicalities. They did not object to the intention behind the bill or the Scottish Parliament's ability to incorporate the UNCRC so long as it stayed within its powers. So it wasn't about the law to enshrine the rights of the child. It was purely and simply this wee parliament that they detest, they absolutely detest Holyrood, was producing a piece of legislation that went beyond what the UK government are doing, right?
Before you go any further, David.
Yeah,
right?
I know, I appreciate that, right? I appreciate
No,
that.
no, this is important.
Yeah.
This is why Great Britain or the UK is such a corrupt entity, and they get away with being a corrupt entity via this means, right? And we're talking about the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Children, or any of the United Nations Convention that Westminster is signed up to.
Yeah.
Now, and this is where the duplicity comes in on the international stage. They sign up to this, but when they come back to their union, where there is three legal systems, they don't force the three legal systems to sign up to incorporate what they've signed up to into their laws.
Yeah.
So actually, the UK being a signatory to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Children is a con on the United Nations.
Mm-hmm.
Because they didn't come back and then say to the English legal system, incorporate that into law. They didn't come back and say to the Scottish legal system, incorporate that into law. They didn't come back to the Irish legal system in Northern Ireland and say, incorporate that into law. What they did was they misled everybody, including the United Nations.
Yeah. And
we've also seen that on the 1967 declaration from the United Kingdom and the United Nations that the UK was a voluntary concept and a union. Made up of a constituent parts.
Definitely blown that gap, haven't they?
So basically, the UK has conned the United Nations on every bloody convention it's signed. Everyone. Because when the UK is an entity, or sorry, Great Britain is an entity, Great Britain and Northern Ireland is an entity, goes along and signs up to an international treaty or an international convention, it means nothing because it's only Westminster that signed up to it. It hasn't been incorporated into law anywhere else on these islands.
Yeah. Right. What I'm going to do is very, very, very quickly, I'm going to briefly just hop, right? The first item that the Supreme Court threw out on was the definition of public authority. It was Section 6. This section looks at who needs to follow the new law. The Supreme Court said it was drafted very broadly. Don't forget, it's a Scottish law put together to deal with the people of Scotland, right? But they said it was drafted very broadly, meaning that it could apply to UK authorities acting in reserved areas. So in other words, what they're doing is they're saying, no, we need to protect the UK government actually passing laws in Scotland for the people of Scotland.
Now, once again, we'll go back to the elephant in the room. Great Britain and Northern Ireland have been signed up to this convention on the rights of the children forever.
Yeah.
So where was the objection to this bill?
Exactly.
Right, go on, carry on, dude.
Okay, number 2, interpretation. Section looks at how laws should be interpreted to make sure they respect children's human rights. Can't see anything wrong with that. The judges said this section would give Scottish courts the power to interpret UK laws in ways the UK Parliament didn't originally intend.
But that's also a misstatement, because that wouldn't be the Scottish Parliament that's interpreting these laws. It would be the Scottish courts.
Yeah.
The judges interpret law. Parliaments only make law.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
The judges said this would affect the powers of the UK Parliament to make laws for Scotland. Twice they've said that, right? Okay. Strike down powers. Section 20. This section gives the Scottish courts the power to strike down certain laws that don't comply with children's rights. Striking down a law means it would cease to have effect. The Supreme Court said these powers could be used on laws passed by the UK government. They said this would clearly affect the powers of the UK Parliament to make laws for Scotland. 3 times.
Right, but once again, the elephant in the room, where's the objection? This entity called Great Britain and Ireland is supposed to be signed up.
Yeah.
So the UK government should already be taking the rights of the children into consideration when making law. But because we know they didn't incorporate the UNCHR any of the legal systems here, in the UK, it was all just push in the wind.
Yeah.
So they don't have to consider any of our children's rights as they write UK legislation.
Well, number 4, incompatibility declarators. Section 21. This section allows Scottish courts to make a declaration if a certain law doesn't comply with children's rights. I don't see any problem with that. The children's rights is the important part. Yeah, okay. This declaration wouldn't remove the law from the statute book. It would stay in force, but it might encourage the government to amend it. So, in other words, a creeping mission where the Scottish government said, well, we'll add this in, we'll add that in. Right, okay. The Supreme Court said that these powers could be used on laws passed by the UK Parliament. Again, they said this would affect the powers of the UK Parliament to make laws for Scotland. Four items that the Supreme Court came in with, and each one of them was it would affect the powers of the UK Parliament to make laws for Scotland.
Right, 2 elephants in the room here again.
Yeah.
One, the UK as an entity, the UK Parliament as an entity, because it's signed up to this convention, should not have any laws in place anywhere on these islands where an individual government should be pointing something out, which it wouldn't be a government, it would be a judge, should be pointing something out and saying, can't do that. Because the reason why they'd be saying you can't do that is nothing to do with the law that Scotland wrote. It has to do with the UNCHR on the rights of the child.
Yeah.
The UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which is the UK is supposed to be signed up to. And the other one, the other elephant in the room, of course, is they're not supposed to be able to interfere. It's a devolved area.
We've constantly told people that the Supreme Court and the Court of Sessions in Edinburgh effectively are at the same level, aren't they?
Yes,
case,
yes.
Right. Well, as far as I'm concerned, right, there's perhaps a solution here. The moment something like this is passed into law, it's immediately challenged by the Scottish Government in the Court of Sessions. So and hopefully the Court of Sessions will actually bring back the right decision this time, because don't forget, these judges, they've got souls, right? And therefore it could be passed, and then that's it. It then goes for royal assent.
But I say every one of the points that these judges supposed to be interpreters of the law have brought up. It's bogus, it's pissing the wind, because the UK is supposed to take the rights of the child into consideration when writing the law.
That's right.
Yeah. You know, but they don't have to, because they didn't sign any of their legal systems up to it. They just signed up to it themselves. It's pissing the wind.
Well, this all goes along with, cap in hand, with the Human Rights Act,
yes,
which has been bounced as well. At the time that we had people stand at the side of the road with wee signs saying "Not my king," they were protected by the Human Rights Act, which gave them the right to free speech using any media that they wanted. And what actually happened was, when I went looking in the Commons Library to see the Human Rights Act, Section 28 had been removed, and that's the one that actually covers it.
And that's when it comes to the duplicity of Westminster, because when they sign up to a convention or an international law, they are no installing that into the legal system and the legal systems in the UK. So it's all piss in the wind. It's a mirage. You know, but it's all very entertaining that they don't think they have to consider the rights of the children, any children. Remember this. It wasn't incorporated, the HNCR, the United Nations Charter on the Rights of the Child, hasn't been incorporated into English law, into Scots law, into Northern Irish law. Right, so they don't have to consider any of their children's rights when they're writing.
Well, therefore, that should give us the perfect right to go, hello, are these yours? Right? Aye. We're doing it anyway.
Right, and as we wind this one up, David, as I say, we're going to go a wee bit more lightweight again and have a bit of a laugh for the last 10 minutes, shall we?
We're going to jump into the rabbit's hole.
This is the rabbit hole, this one. This one's an absolute cracker. Hey, as you know, I'm a wee fan of the committees in Westminster. And this one's a doozy. You could not do this. This is proof that Westminster government under Bojo and Sunak was corrupt. Wait till you get this one. In the Public Accounts Committee earlier this week, I think it was Tuesday, if I remember right, Tuesday. What day was it Harry was getting all the shit about going to court?
Was it Tuesday? Yeah. It was yesterday. He finished his thing. No, it was Tuesday and Wednesday.
Tuesday, they were saying he was wasting time because he didn't go to court on Tuesday. He was on a Wednesday, right? But anyway, well, the papers was full of this pish. The real truth, the real interesting story that broke on Tuesday, didn't they make it into Tuesday night's news or Wednesday's publications or Wednesday's news? We could get a grip of this one, David, right? The Public Accounts Committee reports fraud and waste in government departments up by 3/4. Where you get this? Under Sunak and Johnson. Now, in 2019, before they came to power, waste and fraud in the public sector, the Westminster, stood at 5.1 billion. After 2 years of 2 years of Sunak and Johnston, right? The bill for waste and fraud in the public sector in 2022-2023 was 21.1 billion. So basically, then in the committee, they're asked about how they're going to get this money back, this 20-odd billion that's been lost to fraud and waste. And the answer was quite funny. What was the answer?
We're no bothered.
We're not very bothered.
You see, I'm a Milligan, and part of our family motto is it's not against the law to steal a man's sheep, but it is against the law to not help him find them, right? So I think it's somewhere the same, a wee bit of reavers, so anyway.
Aye, but what's really funny about that is if you add in the 4.9 billion they've already refused to get out of the bounce back loans that they've just wrote up and things like that, and if the PPE loans have just wrote up, it comes to a grand total of 26 billion.
I'm paying up. I've got a bounce back loan that I'm paying up.
But the fraud, if you add that in and all the stuff that they've already written off, the fraud comes to 26 billion quid, and ask what they're going to do about it in the Public Accounts Committee. It's like, no.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to bother.
Everything, absolutely everything that we look at now is just negative. It's crazy. And, it's fair enough to say that there are problems all over the world, right? But really, when you look at it, there's a lot of it centred in the Tories, with the Tories' involvement. It's ridiculous.
Oh, and honestly, David, I know I wanted to end on something funny. There was another funny story. I could have did the what do they call that Super Bowl type thing done by Britain's First or Britain's Choice or something like that. Where they took the polling figures right now and applied 6 or 7 different scenarios to them. And in 3 of these scenarios, Labour take over 20-odd seats in Scotland, whereas in the actual polling data, it says they're taking 8.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how desperate things are getting out there, It's absolute. I mean, there's an awful lot going on, folks. There is. Scotland, though, will get the biggest share of the day's show because, let's face it, there's a fair bit going on here in Scotland. When we did the Monday show, there was bugger all going on. It's all happening now.
All I can say is, Hamza, if you are watching this, right, I'll look at the camera. Hamza, if you are watching this, we don't need you hold meeting after meeting after meeting on what direction we're going to take on independence. What we need that independence convention to come up with a route to independence, and then we all follow it and we get on board with the campaign. Otherwise, your party is going to fall about round about your ankles.
Aye. Now, folks, apparently weather's going to be nice next Saturday, and there's a static flag event on at Kirkcaldy Beach. It starts at 1 o'clock. So if you're in the area and can make it along, come along. I see that Aki's and Seska saying they're going to be there. Sarah and I will be there along with the Indie 2 Cafe. If you can help with the food bank thing and say the bank account, I'll need to. Apparently, it hasn't come up on YouTube, but we'll sort that out.
And one further thing on a personal note, it's like I'm looking to be in the market for buying myself an electric bike. Now that'll come into particular use when we do the chain of freedom thing, because I'll be able to get along the line for a few miles.
So you want recommendations?
Yeah, I'm looking for a bit of advice. If there's anybody out there that's got an electric bike, or you've got experience of them, then please PM me and give me some ideas, because I really don't know what I'm looking at here. I used to be able to build bikes and all the rest of it, but the electric bikes are maybe something a bit different. So I'm just looking for some advice, guys. All right.
Aye. So aye.
It'll be an outside broadcast unit.
I know, to be reasonable, it's time to mention a few of these things as we go forward, especially in Chain of Freedom. I think they're still trying to sign up a lot of people for that.
Yeah.
So if you've got an interest in the Chain of Freedom, folks, we all should have.
Yeah.
If we're going to force the politicians to act, then we're going to have to do it en masse.
Yes.
And that means getting out to these events en masse.
I mean, people like me, you heard me putting out an appeal to Humza. However, if we're not prepared to get out of our beds and go and support these things, then it's pointless. May as well give up now. All right. Nathan, I hear you, but at the same time, it's like, if you've got no faith in Humza Yousaf, you might as well walk away, because nobody else is going to do it.
No. Now, no matter how disappointed we all may sound at some point or other, if we're going to show strength, then the SNP can't. They'll get 3 West constituencies to do and all that, gerrymandering and that as well. We have got to make sure the SNP don't go backwards.
Yeah.
Don't go backwards. We're still going to have to vote for them at that next election en masse. Yeah. En masse. And I mean that. Okay. Well, we're getting there, David. It's nearly wind up time.
Yeah.
But I say, the static event Kirkcaldy next week. So, and we're all out to be die, Brian. And apparently Peter, how are you? No seeing you in a good bit of time, actually.
Well,
anyway, like you might, David needs a long extension cable. I've got a leaky car. Yeah, run the boot with petrol generators in the boot in case
there's been a few ads going out, right? And there's a vehicle called the Polestar that's been advertised heavily on Facebook. And what they're quoting is, a 394-mile range on this vehicle, right? Okay. And I looked at it and I went, that's total and utter bollocks. It really is. Yeah. And trying to make people realise that a battery, any battery you could figure will act differently at different temperatures. And also, from the moment it is brand new, it starts to degrade through the number of cycles, of charge cycles. And anybody that's into batteries will tell you that, right?
And Alan brings up a good point, David. Really good. And producing these batteries is the key at all. Right, don't forget the Declaration of Growth is on view at the National Museum of Scotland in Edinburgh until early July. Worthy of a visit. Take your grandchildren, take your children, go along, show them it, get them interested in their rights, because when we talk about equipment rights, it's their right.
Yeah, that is history with a capital H. That is, seeing that thing. I haven't seen it myself, and I think I would like to see it.
Keith, thanks for putting me correct. It is this Saturday coming. It is this Saturday the 10th. Yeah. Okay. I've obviously not made myself clear on that one. All right. So this Saturday's the static event in Kirkcaldy. Okay. Right, David. Where are we? 59. Let's round this one up. I'll let you go.
Yeah, again, guys, thank you for joining us. Do check out the account number and sort code. So if you do want to make a donation, then you can do. And basically, what we'll do is you'll be able to see that coming in, and also you can leave a message to say what you've put in. Simple as that. It's very, very simple. You can still use the super chat. Don't have a problem with that. But the problem with that is that there's 30% taken off Google Woman Pocket, 30% of what you put in. It's not right, but anyway, there you go. It's not as bad as TikTok. I think they're about 70%, aren't they?
I couldn't tell you. I'm not involved in this.
Yeah, TikTok is 70%. Yeah, if you do a donation through them. Anyway, right. So I'll do the wind up for you. If you haven't, you go on and linked to the Two Davies account, something like that, then please do. We need as many people signing up to this as possible, because it gets us additional functionality on the channel, which we can use and make the thing a bit more entertaining for you guys, right? Also, if you like us, we're the Two Davies. Click the like button, right? If you don't like us, well, what can I say? You could be Alex Cole Hamilton. We can be the Alex Cole Hamilton Appreciation Society this week.
Oh, I know. Remember, if you're on Facebook, give me a minute to change this to public before you share it to Facebook. Facebook's still got our biggest audience, David, but it's starting to balance out.
Yeah.
On the live, we get maced on YouTube. On the viewbacks, we get maced on Facebook, which is interesting. Right. So that's it for the day, David. So all is left to say is, we've still got one more show with you in it before you go on holiday, haven't we?
That's
Monday.
right. Yes, that's right. Yeah. I'll be getting my factor 75 ready. I'll be the blue kid stood at the pool.
Take your factor duffel coat.
Anyway, so what can I say, guys? But thanks for joining us, and bye bye, Davey.
Bye, Davey.